All right, so some of these problems get a little tricky when, because when you're working in one section and they're just teaching you antiderivatives and you've got some basic functions you know how to think antiderivatives of, it's fairly straightforward. Then they introduce integration by substitution, and then it gets a little tricky when you've got these problems all mixed together. So we got to take a look at this and see, okay, how can we solve this? Um, Now, you might see, okay, there's a composite function here. We got the square function with a 2x minus 3 inside there, but then we've also got this square root of x, and I know the derivative of the inside function is just going to be 2, and that's not going to help us. So I'm just going to try to rewrite this. This is just a binomial squared, and so I can actually just rewrite that. If I expand it, I will get 4x squared minus 12x, first times last times 2, right, plus 9, all over the square root of x, and then I'm just going to write that as x to the 1/2, and dx. Okay, and now I can just divide each term, basically distributing this 1 over x to the 1/2 across this polynomial. And what I'll end up with is the integral of 4x to the 3/2, right? I'm just taking 4x squared over x to the 1/2. So 2 minus 1/2 gives me 3/2. And then I'm going to have minus 12x to the 1/2, right? X to the 1 minus 1/2, right? And then I'm going to have plus 9x to the minus 1/2, okay? And dx. All right, so then I could just use the reverse power rule. So I've got 4, whoops, actually I don't need the integral anymore. I'm doing the antiderivative now. So I'm going to have the antiderivative is going to be 4, the constant, and then the antiderivative of x to the 3/2 is going to be x to the 5/2 over 5/2 minus 12 x to the 3/2, right? I'm just adding 1 to the exponent over 3/2, and then plus 9 x to the 1/2, right? I'm just adding 1 to negative 1/2, and then over 1/2, and then plus c. All right, and then we just need to clean it up a bit. Okay, the reciprocal of 5/2 is 2/5, so I'm going to have 8/5 x to the 5/2. And then I'm going to have reciprocal of 3/2 is 2/3, so 2/3 of 12 gives me 8 x to the 3/2, and then plus reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 times 9 gives me 18 x to the 1/2 plus c.